The Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Canada is an Eastern Orthodox Church in Canada, primarily consisting of Ukrainian Canadians. Its former name was the Ukrainian Greek Orthodox Church of Canada. The church is part of the wider Eastern Orthodox Communion, however was created independently in 1918. It has cathedrals in many Canadian cities including Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, and Montreal. The Metropolitan Cathedral, Seminary, and Central Administrative Office are all based in Winnipeg. Also, the church is affiliated with 4 residences for university students: St. Vladimir's in Toronto, Ontario, St. Petro Mohila Institute in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, St. John's Institute in Edmonton, Alberta, and one operating at St. Andrew's College. The church's membership is about 10,000. The current primate of the church is Metropolitan Yare. Early history. Most ethnic Ukrainians moving to Canada from Galicia in the late 19th and early 20th centuries were Greek Catholics, and were tended early on by the local Roman Catholic hierarchy. This was because the North American Catholic bishops believed that the presence of married Eastern Catholic priests would create a scandal at the time. The other major group of Ukrainians which were coming to Canada were from Bukovina, and they were mostly Orthodox. At first these Orthodox Christians were served by the Russian Orthodox Mission in North America, but these services were not conducted in the native Ukrainian language. Catholics and the Orthodox who wanted to establish their own church met in the summer of 1918 in the city of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and established the Ukrainian Greek Orthodox Church in Canada. Also at these meetings, the delegates had established a brotherhood to try to help the young church. The settlers had just created a new church, but they were very conscious of church canon law that states that a church cannot exist without a bishop. The church's brotherhood tried to have Archbishop Alexander of the Russian Orthodox Mission to take the church under his temporary care as bishop. At first Archbishop Alexander agreed, but later declined. However, the UGOC's first Sober still took place as planned on December 28, 1918 in Saskatoon. This Sober led to the establishment of the church's first seminary in Saskatoon. The Brotherhood still searched for a temporary bishop, and eventually found one, Metropolitan Germanos, who was the Metropolitan of the Antiochian Orthodox Christian Archdiocese of North America. He led the church for the next 5 years. Under his supervision, Sober II took place in Saskatoon on November 27, 1919. Archbishop John. Following Metropolitan Germanos' leadership, Archbishop John became the church's primate. Archbishop John had just arrived in the United States from the non-canonical Ukrainian Autocephalous Orthodox Church, and he began to serve the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the USA to become the primate and metropolitan. The young church had chosen the Ukrainian bishop as the bishop, hoping that the church would further grow under his leadership. During the summers from 1924 to 1946, Archbishop John would make an annual trip to Canada to visit the parishes throughout the country. When Archbishop John was in the USA during the winter months, AFR Seaman Sorchak would act as an administrator at the consistory in Canada. After a few years as acting primate of the UOCC, certain controversies laid around Archbishop John due to his uncanonical ordination to bishop. Archbishop John was ordained by the bishops of Ukrainian Autocephalous Orthodox Church, who were not ordained according to the canon laws and traditions of the Orthodox Church but were ordained by priests and lay people. The first canon of the Holy Apostles states that new bishops should be ordained by at least 2 or 3 bishops. As a result of this, Archbishop John resigned his position as ruling bishop in 1940. 1946. At his special Sober in 1947, Bishop Msdyslaw was accepted as the new Archbishop of Winnipeg and all Canada. However, due to some misunderstandings and arguments about how the church should be governed, he resigned as primate in 1950 at ex-Sober in Winnipeg. In response, the UOCC contacted Metropolitan Polycarp for assistance, and he agreed to send some bishops over to help the faithful in Canada. Formation of the Metropolitan. At his special Sober in 1947, the UGOCC accepted Bishop Msdyslaw of Pereyaslav of the UAOC, consecrated during World War II with the blessing of Metropolitan Dionysius of Warsaw, as its ruling bishop with the title Archbishop of Winnipeg and all Canada. Due to conflicts between Archbishop Msdyslaw and members of the UGOCC consistory, however, the former resigned as diocesan bishop at the 10th Sober of the Church in 1950, once again leaving the UGOCC without a bishop. After the resignation of Archbishop Msdyslaw, the consistory appealed to Metropolitan Polycarp of the UAOC for assistance in finding bishops for the UGOCC. By the time another special Sober was called in 1951 for potential bishops, all consecrated in German-occupied Ukraine during World War II, had been found. One Metropolitan Hilarion of Combe had been resident in Winnipeg since 1947. Two others, Archbishop Michael and Bishop Platon, came to Canada at the invitation of the consistory and with the blessing of Metropolitan Polycarp. At the 1951 Sober, it was decided that the UGOCC, which had grown to include some 300 parishes, would be organized as a metropolia. Metropolitan Hilarion was elected Metropolitan of Winnipeg and all Canada and Primate of the UGOCC, while Archbishop Michael was elected Archbishop of Toronto and Eastern Canada. The size of the UGOCC necessitated the appointment of more bishops, and so in 1959 Archimandrite Andrew was elected Bishop of Edmonton and Western Canada, and in 1963 Archimandrite Boris was elected Bishop of Saskatoon and Auxiliary or Assistant Bishop of the Central Eparchy under Metropolitan Hilarion. After 21 years as Primate of the UGOCC, Metropolitan Hilarion died on March 29, 1972, and was succeeded by Archbishop Michael of Toronto as Metropolitan of Winnipeg and all Canada. After Metropolitan Michael's retirement in 1975, Archbishop Andrew was elected Metropolitan, serving until his death on February 2, 1985. Under Metropolitan Andrew, new bishops, Bishops Mykolai, Basil, and John, were elected to serve the UGOCC, and after Metropolitan Andrew's death, Bishop Wassily was elected Metropolitan of Winnipeg and all Canada. 4 years after his enthronement as Primate of the UGOCC, Metropolitan Wassily consecrated Archimandrite Yuri as Bishop of Saskatoon. Recent history. After dialoguing with the Church of Constantinople, the UGOCC was received into its jurisdiction as the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Canada in 1990, bringing it into the full communion of the canonical Orthodox Church. The decree of Ecumenical Patriarch Demetrius uniting the UOCC with the Church of Constantinople recognized the Church's internal autonomy under its Metropolitan, justifying the reception of the UOCC into the Patriarchate's jurisdiction on the basis of the historic jurisdiction of the Church of Constantinople in Ukraine. Following the death of Metropolitan Wassily in early 2005, the 21st Sober of the UOCC elected Archbishop John as Metropolitan of Winnipeg and Canada. In August 2008, an extraordinary Sober was held in Saskatoon to elect new bishops, amend the UOCC's bylaws, and mark the 90th anniversary of the founding of the UOCC in the city. The Sober elected bishops Hilarion of Telmissus as Bishop of Edmonton and Andrew of Crater as Auxiliary Bishop of Saskatoon. In July 2010, another special Sober of the UOCC was held to nominate his successor to the newly retired Metropolitan John. The Sober nominated Archbishop John of Toronto for the Metropolitanate, and consequently on August 30, 2010, the Holy Synod in Constantinople elected Archbishop John as Archbishop of Winnipeg and Metropolitan of Canada. Structure: the UOCC is divided into three eparchies or dioceses: the Eastern Eparchy, with its cathedral in Toronto, Ontario; the Central Eparchy, with its cathedral in Winnipeg, Manitoba; and the Western Eparchy, with its cathedral in Edmonton, Alberta. According to the custom of the UOCC, the Church's primate is the title the Archbishop of Winnipeg and Metropolitan of Canada, and serves as the diocesan or ruling bishop of the Central Eparchy. The Eastern Eparchy currently does not have a ruling bishop, but is administered by Bishop Andrew of Crater. The Western Eparchy is led by Bishop Hilarion of Edmonton and Western Canada. All of the UOCC's dioceses may have auxiliary bishops, but none of the eparchies have an auxiliary bishop at this time. Current hierarchy: Central Eparchy Metropolitan John of Winnipeg and Canada. Eastern Eparchy Bishop Andrew of Crater, Acting Bishop of Toronto and Eastern Canada. Western Eparchy Bishop Hilarion of Edmonton and Western Canada. Past bishops: List of bishops who have served in the UOCC historically, and the years served. Metropolitan Germanes of the Antiochian Orthodox Christian Archdiocese of North America. Metropolitan John, Archbishop MSDY Slav. Metropolitan Hilarion, Metropolitan Michael, Metropolitan Andrew, Archbishop Boris, Archbishop Mykolai, Metropolitan Wasily, Metropolitan John, Metropolitan Yare, Bishop Hilarion, Bishop Andrew. Metropolitans, Primates. List of primates and years of primatial rule. Metropolitan Hilarion, Metropolitan Michael resigned as Metropolitan in 1975. Metropolitan Andrew, Metropolitan Wasily, Metropolitan John, Metropolitan Yare.